and I appreciate everybody, all of our guests for coming. Randy sends her regards. She had to hop off, but she was so incredibly impressed with everything that you guys were all doing. And just wanted to open it up to any questions or comments, whether it be for our last few presenters or for anyone overall.
I'm just amazed by what we all came up with. When I think about us talking like 5 weeks ago, we've made a lot of progress, and I'm like very, very impressed.
Yes.
I think it's just like, and Jess, you kept on telling us there was like method, and it was clearly there was a method, because I think it's just worked out really well.
Well, I mean, if you guys can kind of think, what was it even like the week before Thanksgiving, when everyone was still just kind of like, what? And I'm just like, no, trust me, you guys have this, but you know, have it all together. And just to kind of say too, of like, there's that feeling of you guys wanted so bad. I mean, because we're taught this way, right? And I'm going back to Arden's presentation of like this idea of divergent thinking, right? We're taught to follow the rules. We're taught to kind of, we need the instructions, we have to do the assignment. And how much did you guys have this desire, right? You were craving, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do so I can get it done, right? And then look what happens. Like you guys all, like, had we done that, it would have been, I'm thinking of Megan, when you talked about like the Instagram art, right? Of just like, nice, all these, I'm sure, like, look, you all can present, you all can put ideas together. I'm sure they would have been nice, but I don't know that we would have gotten into the depths of where we went and these connections. And again, going back to, it's like the 4D Bauhaus compositions, right? Like you kind of have to do all of that in order to really get to the new ideas. And I'm telling you, you guys got to the new ideas. You really did. So kudos to y'all, especially during pandemic life.
I think also like the way you set it up well, because you can really take Abiomi's and like bring it back to mind, like the fact that to get people to understand like the value of art. These are they kind of have to be invested in it. They have to see the value of it. I also wanted to make a point about Abiomi's. I have like Inside Bohemia tattooed on my fingers because of this project one of my classmates did a couple years ago. She wanted to like tattoo a poem on everybody. But honestly, I still barely knew what it meant. But the way her context of it is kind of taking Bohemia and making it like a space, like a literal space and environment. So I think that's also like kind of redefining the term and just keeping it alive. So yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
What about for anyone else? Any other like thoughts or questions about just the whole process?
I think the process, it's funny because the process was frustrating at first because, I mean, for me, I thought it was a little frustrating at first, but like once we started to do like certain activities to get to where we needed to go with the project, it made it easier. Like for me, I keep saying this, but that idea map really did help to organize everything together, and because it just felt like overwhelming without it.
Well, and if you think about it, right, like, so even, take this course, right, and take, like, if you guys look at the structure and like, remember how many times too, like, I'm like, here's the projects, here's kind of like the framework, here's the stuff, but like, you don't have to do it all in this exact order, but these are the different components of what needs to be, right? So for some people, it really was the idea map. For some people, like me, it was, I mean, how many people found themselves through this presentation really crystallizing their ideas of like putting the slides together, right? Yeah, like, so sometimes, remember what I said, it's like we always think, okay, I just have to write the paper, right? Because it's really we privilege the paper at the end. We privilege the manuscript that might get published in a journal, or the book that gets published, or the blog article that gets published, right? But it's like, that's only one very small piece of this. So it's like we take all of these components and we pull it together and we find the different avenues of how it goes. But, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, right, like that frustration is by design, right? Because it's like we need that frustration. What was the term, Sam, you talked about it, the experiential avoidance, right? And kind of how, like, if you had a low threshold of experiential avoidance, then you have more of a tendency for post-traumatic growth, because you're going to lean into that a little bit more, right? But if you have a high experiential avoidance where you're just like, no, I don't want to do that, then it makes sense that you might be stuck in that kind of unhelpful rumination, right? So it's like all of this is part of that kind of process. But do you guys, and I want to just kind of pause and say again, like, you guys really need to pat yourselves on the back and be really proud of like sticking through with these ideas and making them work. And I want to actually read something to you. I don't know if everyone saw it in the chat that Randy had said, let me find it, where when Randy said, all of your graduate level work is reflective of your experiences in and with education and personal opportunities. This course brings forth all of your exceptional abilities. So if you kind of think about how what you guys have done is pull together, like, think about how the visual journaling processes, right? And especially for those of you that have started them or already were doing them in the creative and cognitive class, and like sticking with like having an understanding of, all right, I'm going to do this visual journaling to like keep a record of my thoughts and my process and kind of expanding what it could be. That's what helps you pull all this together. So yeah, this was really, really wonderful. And I want to say thank you again to our guests for coming. So I will give a shout out to, this is my Uncle Tom, who, if you saw in the chat, he's an 81 grad of UArts. So thank you for coming and seeing this amazing new generation of art educators. I want to make an assumption on Susan. If Susan is here, I'll just give the shout out of, that's my mom hanging out with us. And so people are really interested in the work you guys are doing. And I'm gonna,
Hi, I'm here.
Oh, hello. Thanks for hanging out with us, Mom.
Great job to everybody. I enjoyed listening. It brought me back to my college days of psych and art courses. I just felt great listening to everyone.
Thank you
Great
so much.
Great job to everybody, really.
Awesome. So as you guys can see, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? With the art and the psych classes. So definitely I will take these recordings and I'm going to play around with maybe making different segments of like chopping them up, right? And we've got then the website that we can be putting all of this on, because guess what, guys, this stuff is going to continue to exist, right? Like, it's going to exist beyond this moment. And we're going to keep growing from it. And we're going, so for next week, you have your papers to hand in, but we're also, take some time if you want to either, like, if you want to write something down, but reflect a little bit on what this whole experience was like, right? And maybe give it some time. Maybe what we'll do is like, we'll come together and maybe don't write about it until we get back together on a Zoom next week. Yeah, go ahead, Brittany.
Oh, it was a question about the video, but I can't, it can wait.
No, okay. So I'll come back to that. But I'll say that actually I'm going to ask you guys not to write about it, right? Like think about it, marinate on it, but we got to give it some space, because like I don't think right now, like, or even if in the next couple of days, if you guys write about this, you'll really get the full thing. Like give this some time to like sink in. Like y'all did this really amazing thing. And the other thing that I want to point out before we go to your question is that I don't know if you guys realized or noticed like the kind of research process that I was doing, like that meta project on top of your projects, right? So remember we talked about like the coding and how do we analyze the qualitative data, is that really I was kind of culling and looking at what are your topics? And after meeting with everybody, like, well, then how can we curate this into an idea and a conference, right? Like normally a conference starts with a theme, right? And then you submit things towards that theme. Well, this obviously went the other way around. We created the theme and the title after seeing what data was already there. So do you guys see how, do we feel that the narrative of what we were learning, and even Simone, as you said, like Abiomi's could actually go right back into yours from the beginning. It was almost like cyclical. But did you guys kind of see how this all flowed together? It was really really cool to see. So, so yeah, okay. So Brittany,